recovered by the Chargers. Touchdown, UCLA.
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's going on, Los Angeles, Orange County, San Diego, Santa Barbara, all over the Southland, or if you're watching on YouTube or listening to a podcast platform, welcome in from wherever you are, nationally or internationally. This is the LA Football Show. We are on the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com. You can also find us on the Believe Podcast Network. And now on every Friday at 5 p.m. a.m., the mightier 1090. You can find us on the airwaves from 5 to 6 p.m. all across the Southland. Pumped about it. Got a great show. It's the LA Football Show. All LA football, all the time. I'm going to have some talk about the Rams in this new acquisition of Sony Michel. Going to welcome on Jake Crain. He does the JBoy Show, one of the new hot podcasts in the country. I mean, he's killing it. This dude's awesome. I've known him for about a year now. The JBoy Show is a SEC-focused show. So you might think, well, why are you going to have an SEC guy on to talk Rams? Well, he obviously covered Sony Michel when he was at Georgia. So we can get some behind-the-scenes look of what Sony can bring to this Rams team that has been plagued by injuries thus far in training camp, especially at the running back position after losing Cam Akers and then losing Raymond Calais in the last preseason game against the Raiders. So now they're going to add Sony Michel, gave up some picks for him, but we will get all into that in the second part of the hour. I'm finally joined again by my co-host, Frostee Rucker, the great Frostee Rucker, two-time national champion at USC, 13-year NFL veteran. And we're going to talk some USC. He's going to give us some insight of what he thinks this season can be. How good can Keaton Slovis be? How good can Drake London be? The new freshman incoming, the number one recruit in the nation. How good can he be? Talking about Corey Foreman, obviously. So always good with my man Frost. He's going to be on every week with me doing what we're going to call the Trojan Huddle. So that'll be all the great Trojan coverage as we're going to be at practices, at games, as we will with all four of our teams that we cover. UCLA's got a game this weekend. One of the first games, they call it week 0 in the NCAA. I always find that funny. Week 0. Why not just call it week 1? Just not everyone plays on it. But week 0, University of Hawaii is going to travel up to Pasadena at the Rose Bowl to face the Bruins. You know, this is going to be an interesting game because the Bruins need to get off to a hot start, and they especially need to get off to a hot start against a lesser opponent. Hawaii's had some, good squads in the past. They can put up some good numbers. They've had some great quarterbacks, at least collegiately, in years past. But UCLA should be always a better team, and specifically this year because of everyone returning, 20 of the 22 starters returning. Chip Kelly's 4th year, DTR's 4th year as a senior now, 4-year starter. This should be a blowout for the Bruins. So, I think they'll put up 38 to 42 points. Hopefully they can hold Hawaii under 20 just so we can see that defense kind of work and how much they've improved. But it's going to be a good barometer because in the very next week, LSU comes rolling into the Rose Bowl. That's going to be a much tougher matchup. So we will definitely let you know how that game goes as we talk about it next week, how the Hawaii game goes. Then we'll preview LSU. I think we'll have someone on here to help preview that game because that's a big one. Out of conference, so won't affect conference play or conference standings, but more of a barometer of where this program is and what we can be excited about or disappointed about with Chip Kelly in the future of this UCLA football program. Martin Jarmond, new AD, who's done a phenomenal job, will be there, obviously, and he's got some big decisions to make this year depending on how the season goes. But we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Optimism is high. This is a positive show. I'm a positive guy. We just want to see how things roll out for this team. So excited about UCLA, where they're at. Let's talk about the Rams before I welcome on Jake. So Sony Michel, it was originally reported that it was a 2022 5th and 6th round pick sent to New England in exchange for Sony Michel, former 1st round pick. And then next season, when the Rams will reportedly or supposedly get a 4th round complimentary pick from the Browns, or not from the Browns, but because of the Browns signing John Johnson, then the Rams would get their 5th and 6th round pick back, and that 4th round pick would then go to the Patriots. And then you start thinking, okay, Sony Michel, former 1st round pick, his 5th-year option was declined, so he will be a free agent after this year. So essentially a rental for the Rams, because I highly doubt they re-sign him with Cam Akers coming back unless he just absolutely crushes it and becomes like the next Eric Dickerson in LA. But even if he has a good year, a serviceable year, and signs elsewhere, then the thought is the Rams could actually get a comp pick back for him. So it almost is like it wipes clean. It's a win-win for both teams. That's no guarantee they get a comp for Sony, but depending on the year he has, depending on the pay scale he gets signed at, that's a certain possibility. But then it comes out later that those terms were actually incorrect because they violated league policy. And I won't get too much into it because it's all confusing, but essentially you can't anymore exchange conditional compensatory picks just because it's all kind of hearsay and projections. So that was, in a sense, voided. In reality, it was just edited and redrafted. So now the Rams will be giving a 2022 6th round pick, like originally, but then also a 2023 4th round pick. So they are guaranteed there. There are 2 picks there. So it does get a little bit more expensive for the Rams because originally, like I said, it could have almost wiped out clean. And the Rams get a free rental. The Patriots get their pick. The Rams potentially could get a pick back in the future, not lose any of their picks. So now it is a little bit more expensive. They're guaranteed to be giving up a 6th and a 4, albeit the 4 in 2023. But this is a win-now team. We've said this. I've said this on my show for 2 years. It's a win-now team. The way they do things, the way they do business, the way they sign big contracts, the way they make trades, the way they, give away draft picks or don't value draft picks like other teams do, which obviously I think has worked out for them considering not a losing season under Sean McVay yet. But this, for sure, this season specifically feels even more win now. When you trade your former 1st overall pick in Jared Goff and 2 first-round picks, so essentially you're giving 3 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford, a quarterback who's never won a playoff game, but I will be the first to say is an upgrade, and most people would agree with me, and can run Sean McVay's system and why they're so excited, can be the field general, can be the coach on the field that unfortunately Jared Goff was really never able to become. Jared Goff did some things very well, and he played for this team in a Super Bowl. But what Sean McVay eventually wanted was a coach on the field, someone that he didn't have to be in their headset until the timer ran out at 15 seconds, and if he didn't get everything he needed to say, don't know what was going to happen. Matthew Stafford can be that coach on the field. And we've seen it in training camp every day I've been there. You can just tell these intangibles, these differences that come out about it. So they're all in on this year. So I say that because giving away 2 picks in the future, you need some depth at running back. And as they have said, Les Snead said yesterday, this is a depth piece. Darrell Henderson is their proportionate starter. Sony Michel will be a depth guy that can be a change of pace, versatile back. Obviously, that's fluid. That can change. Darrell Henderson's proven he can't really stay healthy, unfortunately. So either way, I think this is a good move for the Rams. A team that shows that you can be good without overvaluing draft picks, unknown draft picks. They get slaughtered every year for giving away draft picks. And every year they're at the top of the standings, or at least in the last 4 years. So I think they've proven that model works when you have other teams that just overvalue picks. They won't give any away. Well, the Rams say, okay, yeah, we don't care. And we'll see in the playoffs every year. So I think it's working. So with that being said, let's get on Jake Crain here as he's going to give us some good insight for Sony Michel on what he'll actually bring to this Rams team, what he was at Georgia, maybe what didn't work in New England, but what can work with McVay. So welcome onto the show, Jake Crain of the JBoy Show. All right, absolutely pumped to welcome on to the show on the airwaves of the mightier 1090 and on the LA Football Show. His name's Jake Crain. He runs the new phenom in the country, the JBoy Show, which you can find on Callan Cowherd's new network, The Volume. Jake, what's up, brother? How you doing, man?
Hey, Ryan, man, appreciate you having me on. And man, it's been crazy. We're here at the College Football Hall of Fame in Atlanta and just got done with our second show ever. We go live on YouTube, on the Volume YouTube channel from 3 to 4 Eastern. And it's always on the stream. And then we drop the audio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio at 6 a.m. Eastern. So it's been fun, man.
I love it, dude. You're blowing up. We've known each other probably almost a year now.
Yeah, get close.
Had you on last year. Yeah, it's crazy. So for those who don't know, Jake covers all things SEC. So he's your SEC expert, which is why I wanted to jump on with me today, as the Los Angeles Rams just traded for Sony Michel. And people will think, well, why are we having an SEC guy? Well, played for Georgia. That's where he got his fame, his hype, and why he was drafted in the first round to the Patriots. So I wanted to get some insight from the guy that knows it best about what the Rams are getting this kid. So let's just start back to his college career. You know, if you look at just statistics, it's like, 1 year kind of down, 1 year up, 1 year kind of down, 1 year up. What, just in a vacuum, I guess, can you tell us about Sony Michel and his college career at Georgia?
Yeah, well, he was in there with a bunch of great backs as well, which was a great problem to have. So when you're looking at the stats in college, make sure you take that into effect. I mean, you look at some guys he was with. I mean, Nick Chubb. I mean, I can go down the list. But what Sony brings is versatility, in my opinion. He's a good runner of the football. He's great after contact. He can fight for hard yards. Does he have totally elite speed? No, but he's a willing and good pass protector. He can catch the ball out of the backfield, and he's somewhat of a veteran guy now. So the offense and acclimating to what Sean McVay wants him to do isn't going to take as long as if he was a younger guy still going through the process. So when I think about Sony, where I really love him is in the red zone. That's where I think he shines the most. He's got a nose for the goal line and the pylon, something he did in college and in the pros. But being able to catch the ball in the backfield, I talked about pass protection, which means you can play in any personnel, you can play in any package, and I think that's where Sean's going to get the most versatility out of him.
What do you think, and it may be his versatility, but just to follow up on that, what was it in that draft process that shot him up over his counterpart in Nick Chubb? Because a lot of the college career, it's like Nick Chubb was kind of the guy. Sony Michel was the complimentary back, if you will. But then he shot up, was taken in the first round. What do you think was the cause of that?
Obviously versatility we talked about. But another thing that I think Sony does an unbelievable job of is when you watch the way he plays the game, he doesn't get stupid penalties. He doesn't do anything that hurts you. He doesn't fumble the ball a lot. I mean, he is consistent. And in that league as well as I do, consistency is king. You're going to have your elite guys. And I think Sony can still go further than what he's done. But when you look at what separates him, I know his work ethic is unbelievable. And he's an unselfish guy. I remember he murdered the interviews in the best way possible. I mean, he's the consummate professional. And that's what you want. Because, again, just like in the SEC, you can't win that division in the NFL with one guy at back. You got to have at least two, and sometimes even three. But when you have a Swiss Army knife that is a mature guy, that I said's a big-time pro, a guy that's not going to cost you the game, there's a reason he went where he went and got drafted by who he got drafted by the way, at the Pats. So when you look at a guy like Sony Michel, he's everything rolled in one, and I think they saw that not only at the beginning of the draft process, but as it went along.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. And I'm going to put you on the spot here because I know you're all things college football, so I don't even know how much you really watched him at the pro level. So I apologize ahead of time, but I think you'll probably have some insight.
Oh, yeah.
For those fans that are saying, okay, great, we get a former first-round pick. He's still young, entering his fourth season. We talk about versatility, but there's something like, why didn't it work with New England? Why are they giving him away for a fifth and a sixth-round pick? What do you think it was that just didn't work in New England, but it can work here in LA?
Well, sometimes a change of scenery is the best thing for a guy. And there's a lot of different reasons stuff doesn't work out. But when I watch at the Patriots, Bill kind of has a way of taking those fifth and sixth round guys and plugging them in. And I think they don't look at it like we have to have an elite running back all the time. Because if you look at the Patriots, I mean, when have they really had a ton of elite backs? I mean, what Tom Brady was able to do with James White in the red zone, LeGarrette Blount was a bulldozer. It's almost compartmentalized. And I think Sony, while he's worth what he's getting paid, I don't think it was a great fit from being close to an every down guy. Not that you can use the guy every down, but and again, in the NFL, it's so much. There could be stuff that was really out of his control going on, whether it's cap, whether it's anything like that. So I wouldn't read too much into it. It's not like he left the Patriots and it was a horrible breakup and Bill was talking about how bad he was and this, that, and the other. It's part of the business. So I wouldn't read too much into that, honestly.
Yeah, well, and the dude averaged 5.7 yards per carry last year.
What else do you want? I mean, shoot,
Yeah.
I don't know if I could average 5.7 yards a carry with two 70-pound dumbbells in my hand right now.
Yeah,
Nobody tackling me.
yeah, exactly. I don't know about I could either. And I remember it was just odd to me when the Patriots made that pick because you said how they get so much value in later rounds. I was like, oh, interesting. They take a running back in the first round here, but now shifting to the Rams and what he can do in this offense, and they've already come out and said that Darrell Henderson is their guy. This is a compliment to him. You've had other people like Adam Schefter say, no, I think he's going to be the starter, but I'll take it from the actual GM and the coach saying he'll be a compliment. What kind of things can he bring to a Darrell Henderson, from Memphis, was known as that slasher, average 6.9 yards per carry in college, can be your home run hitter, but then Stoney can be maybe a better pass catcher, better in goal lines, like you mentioned, had the one lone touchdown in the Super Bowl against the Rams. How do you think those two kind of pair and will be a really good duo in this league?
Well, we can talk about the on the field stuff, but I think the biggest thing is off the field. Henderson's still a young guy. Well, watching how Sony works, it goes back to why I was talking about why he shut up the draft boards. You are what you eat. And when you have a young talent like they do in Henderson, you want to surround him with guys that do it the right way. Not saying he doesn't, but you're never going to hurt by bringing in a guy that knows what he's doing, that knows how to go about it, that has been in a system where it's the process, it's the routine, and you get lost in the routine in the best way possible. To quote Gucci, man, sometimes you got to get lost in the sauce, And but when I look at them both on the field, I think they're two different backs, which is what you want. You don't want two guys the exact same. It's a lot easier as a defensive guy to prepare for an offense if you have similar backs than as opposed to you have one guy that can do some things and another guy that can do other things. While it may be tendency, it puts your defenders in conflict and you're having to do more things at once. So again, I look to the red zone because you got to have a guy that can spell a guy. I think Henderson's going to be the starter, but if something happens to Henderson, you got a guy that can carry the load, that won't be overwhelmed by it. So I think those are a few things that they're bringing in. And again, the locker room, the culture fit, the winning fit. At the end of the day, those things are really important.
Yeah. I agree. When I woke up this morning, bright and early here on the West Coast when the news broke, I thought it was we've talked about it on the show before about how we thought if he was a cut candidate, the Rams would go after him. They just decided to not leave it to chance in the waiver wire to just go ahead and trade and get him on the roster. So I think it will be a good fit. I appreciate the insight. While I have you, can't let you go yet without asking about this, because I think we're going to get you back again in a week or so. Sure. LSU travels to the Rose Bowl to play our UCLA Bruins. We cover it all here on the LA Football Show. It's relative quickly in 30 seconds, because we'll get into it more when we have you back for an in-depth one. But is LSU just going to trounce the Bruins, or do you think this should be a competitive game?
Well, it's the first game of the year. Max Johnson is a young guy. He's gotten some reps. I think LSU wins the game. I just think they're better up front. I know Chip's got guys in his system. They're returning a quarterback and all that. But LSU's really pissed off after last year. And the last thing you want to do when you see an LSU team is being pissed off. But I will say, flying across the country and playing that game, we remember when A&M came out and they jumped all over UCLA and they went home with that L. But I like LSU in this game, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a great game. And hey, I know it's the other LA team, but Coach O returns to LA for the first time since leaving USC. So that could be a fun story.
True. I love the matchup. Matchup.
Me too. And UCLA is going to be a lot better too, but we will get much more into that. Jake Crain, the JBoy Show. Dude, love what you're doing. I really appreciate you coming on. I love talking to you. Short and sweet, but where can everyone find you? Your Twitter, on YouTube? Where can everyone find you at?
Yeah, you can go ahead. Tell everybody if you love football. I mean, we talk to SEC. We talk a little bit of everything too. We'll be talking some UCLA here very, very soon. You can find us on the Volume YouTube channel. It's very easy. Hit that sub and hit some likes if you don't mind. Also, you can find us on Twitter at the JBoy Show, on Instagram at the JBoy Show, and as well Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Ryan, I always appreciate it, man. You do a great job.
Appreciate you, bro. Thanks so much. Be healthy, safe, and have a great rest of your day and the rest of your show production. Appreciate you.
Hey, you too, man. Remember, Sony's much more than just a PlayStation.
Yes, there we go. Perfect way to end it. Jake Crain, appreciate you. All right. Thank you to Jake. Hope you guys enjoyed that insight he's able to give on Sony for those that didn't know much about him. I mean, you hear first round pick, and then you hear traded after, 3 years. Okay, what's wrong with this kid? Sometimes things just don't work out. You get a change of scenery. I mean, there's a lot of scenarios I could get into, but the best one you can think of is Ryan Tannehill. 8th overall pick by Miami. Never really lived up to that status. Ends up being benched. Goes to Tennessee as the backup for Marcus Mariota. Takes over midseason, and now he's a Pro Bowler. And some consider a top 10 quarterback. I don't know if I'd go that far yet. Sometimes a change of scenery, change of coaching staff, change of scheme, change of system is all you need. I've said so many times on this show, all these players in the NFL have talent. You have superstars, you have stars, and then you have very good players. You don't have anyone that's bad or trash, as some people say, which I hate that term when people sitting behind a microphone will call a player trash. All these guys have talent, but like with anything in life, whether it's relationships, jobs, friendships, whatever it is, situations matter. Schemes matter. Coaching staffs matter. And so some guys don't fit in certain systems or certain styles of organizational structure, and they'll fit in others and thrive. So I would not be shocked at all if Sony Michel, like I said, is coming in as a complimentary back, but I would not be shocked at all if all of a sudden he comes in and lives up to that first round hype and becomes a Pro Bowler. I'm not saying he's going to do it this year, but maybe he has really, really good numbers. And the Rams say, yeah, we have Cam Akers coming back, but we might need to re-sign this guy. So anyway, great pick for them. Going to take a quick break here before welcoming on Frostee Rucker. But real quick before I do, got to talk to you about my friends at Brewery X. Best beer in the Southland. They're located in Anaheim, the La Palma Beer Trail, right by Anaheim Stadium and the Honda Center. 30 beers on tap, over 10 hardest seltzers. The nicest staff and guys you will meet, people you will meet. They're all local right here in the Southland. So head to Brewery X. You can find them also in Trader Joe's, Total Wine, Bevmo, wherever you buy your beer, and tell them the guys at LAFB sent you. We'll be doing some live shows at their brewery. They're going to be sponsoring some tailgates for us. So love our partnership with Brewery X. Anyway, quick break. Talk to you at the bottom of the hour. Welcome back to the LA Football Show here on 1090, the mightier 1090, as it's called now, referred to, mightier. Also on the LA Football Network, everywhere you listen to podcasts, on YouTube at LAFB Network. If you want to watch us, see these interviews in person, or I guess in front of a screen, but see us in person, head to LAFB Network on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, hit the bell so you get notified every time we go live. We have all of our shows, over 7 different shows on the LA Football Network, all dedicated to your LA football teams on there. So I cover all the gamuts, but we have a Bruin-specific show, Charger-specific, Ram-specific, Trojan-specific. Get all into it. So head to the LAFB Network today and check that out. So my friend, Frostee Rucker, jumping on with me finally on the mic after a few months off. Excited to dive into this Trojans team. Fight on. All right, back on the airwaves, finally with me. My longtime co-host has been a ghost for a little bit. Not a ghost. He's been super busy, but he's back with me on the airwaves talking USC football, the Trojan Huddle, as we'll call it, with the great Frostee Rucker, 2-time national champion, 13-year NFL vet. My friend, Frostee, what's up, man? How you been?
I'm good, and it's about time. Football season's here. The off season, not so good for me.
Yeah, I bet. Not a lot to talk about, especially with college. It's hard to really find stuff. You get spring game, and then that's it. You have recruiting, spring game, and then nothing till like fall camp.
Exactly. So there's not a lot of fillers, but we're here, man. Season's coming up. It's right around the corner. SC looks good. They look strong. Been paying attention very closely to what's going on at practice, the camp battles that they're having, just getting into pads and whatnot. And, there's a lot of guys on that team that could shock the world this year.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of excitement. And I'll start with that because me and you covered the team last year together during as you called it, the COVID 6 or the COVID 7 season. There's no practices leading up to it. They had to jump into it, battled throughout the year. There was a lot of up and down play, but they finished undefeated before the championship game. But what's your vibe on the team just going into this year? What's your feeling around Keaton Slovis, Coach Helton, just the excitement? What's your excitement level for this Trojans team?
I'm excited about the whole team. I think the attitude of the team is finally what Trojan fans have been looking for. They took the lead in the recruiting aspect of it with Dante Williams doing his damn thing and getting all this talent that's going to be coming up here pretty soon at our school. But outside of that, I think they have the right attitude going into this year. They know it's going to be up front. There's a lot of hype about our running game. We haven't heard much of that in the past. Obviously, we talk about the players, but now actually getting these transfers that are coming over and knowing that they came to run the ball, and that just sounds good because that's USC football. When you get to the point where it's pad on pad, it's exactly what us fans want to see.
Yeah, and you get Malapai returning again, which is, a battering ram that is fun to watch, especially down close to the goal line. So that's a huge gift for that. Talk to me about, we talked a lot last year, but for people new to the program, if you're listening on AM 1090, or if you're watching on YouTube right now, you see your background with Take Back the West. And you talked about the mentality that this team has now, and it seems like they're all on the same page. And the mentality, as you talked about, is that Take Back the West mentality. What does that mean for those out there that don't know?
Well, to me, Take Back the West is just simplified as owning the state of California, the West Coast, that's Arizona, that's all the way from the Bay, Washington, getting really, really talented guys to start staying on this West Coast and stop going back east. That translates into a lot of wins and national championship runs, trying to get in the playoffs. This is, there hasn't been a Pac-12 representative in the playoffs, and this may be the year. I think USC puts it together. They make a strong case for it week by week if they get wins, and that would be taking back the West.
Yeah, so you alluded to it perfectly. Expectation for this program always is, a natty, a national title, Pac-12 title. That's always the expectation around this program, but it hasn't happened. So to have a realistic expectation, like how do you view this season? Do you think they're a year or two away, or do you think this is the team that can make a push for the playoff?
I think this is the team that propels them for the future of USC football. I think this team right now with a healthy Slovis, playing catch with the great wide receivers, seeing who steps up in the wide receiver room. Obviously, we know Drake London will be ready to play. Kyle Ford's ready to play. They have a lot of battles on the offensive line. And like I just talked about before, running the football, that needs to be an emphasis going into this season. They have showed it in camp, but, when that ball kicks off September 4th, we want to see a ground game, and I would like to see a couple backs go 100 yards multiple games this year.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little more, because we talked about that a lot last year, and they obviously run this air raid system under Graham Harrell, but Coach Shelton and Graham Harrell and the offensive unit talk a lot about running the ball, but fans won't expect that. They think air raid, they think air it out 60 times, throw for 400 yards. You maybe run like 10 times. But why is running the ball so important for this offense to actually work and for Keaton Slovis to be efficient? Why is that running game so important? How do they actually make an emphasis on that in a different offense as opposed to, a West Coast style ground and pound?
Well, I think we have to stop calling it air raid. I think we just have to let Graham Harrell call it something else for what it is, because I believe we all get sucked into that notion of it's just going to be a pass first offense. And for the majority of time, it has seemed like that in the past. But I think Trojan fans, hear me out. I think they've been actually listening and knowing that we had to go pad on pad and run some powers and go downhill. And, they got really good back from Texas. Keontre Ingram, he comes in. He's a pad-on-pad guy, fast, quick, elusive, can run through you. Bavai is coming back. We all know what he can do, especially in goal line situations, but in the open field too. He's a heck of a running back. And I think a healthy dose of those guys, those two, to start with, will open up so many passing lanes for Slovis, because I think to get the best out of him, we have to have a running game.
100%. And then you add in Keaton Christensen, who's that like flash in the pan, super fast, smaller guy. So they have a lot of versatility at that position. And what I've noticed a lot with air raid offenses, we'll come up with a different name for us. We'll have to come up with something different to call this. But essentially air raid offense, especially since it comes from that Mike Leach system, is they're electrifying a lot of the games. I mean, USC was kind of the opposite, but they're electrifying a lot in like through three quarters. And then they kind of stall in the fourth against powerhouse defenses because the defenses know exactly what's coming. So that's why it's so important for them to really establish the run and not just, establish it on first down, but be able to be consistent with it for all four quarters to keep the defense on their heels. But then you have the explosiveness of having four receivers on the field if you need to, which we saw last year when they came from behind in many games and were able to utilize that.
So it's great that they have those tools and they know what they're really, really good at. And the one thing that they haven't shown is a power running game. So The tight ends which will look like will be these lead blockers, split bellies, and things of that nature. Because I do not think we have a fullback on the roster. This may turn into a really gash him offense, because if we can get a consistent run game and we don't have to abandon it and we can eat the clock up, like I said before, I think Slovis is at his best with a balanced offense attack, and it's not all on him. And, let the big guys up front get some movement on the line. We got a lot of big guys. We have a lot of camp battles that are going on at the edges of our offensive line. And again, put them to use, run the ball, USC football, tailback you.
Yeah, there you go. And my biggest hope, my prayer is that we don't continually on 3rd and short just see shotgun HB dives at the middle like we did last year. It seemed like every 3rd and 1 or 1st and goal, it was just a shotgun HB dive, and they would just plunge right into the offensive line and get no gains.
Quarterback sneak, man. To tell you, I'll take no,
absolutely.
Hopefully we do see Slovis under the center a lot more, because I'm telling you, if we can run a balanced attack at people and eat the clock and hammer it down people up the middle, I think it's going to open up for us. I don't think people are going to be able to compete, because when we do get in shotgun, we have mismatches across the board.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk defense a little bit, where you played your entire career. Todd Orlando's second year as DC, but Todd Orlando's obviously extremely important, but, Vic So'oto on the defensive line, Dante Williams as the secondary and cornerback coach, who are two of, I think, the best in the conference at what they do. And this defense, we saw some improvement last year. We saw the aggressiveness. They get a lot of returning guys, really good in the linebacking core, the secondary, plus some great recruits up front. What's kind of your expectation for this defense? You think they're able to leap up into that, top half of the Pac-12 this season?
Well, second year going into Todd Orlando's defense, this defense should make huge strides. I think Drake Jackson actually alluded to it in a video that I watched, that knowing the defensive coverages and know where he can play with them on his rushes and whatnot, and because he is a guy that drops back at times, will be huge. Seeing growth in a lot of players like him and the leadership roles. Now he's kind of like an upperclassman.
Yeah.
Corey Foreman being there, and that's just great that he's finally a Trojan. He got through spring, getting through fall camp right now. Season's around the corner. If we can get him to game day 100%, I think this true freshman will be a guy that will be talked about for a long time. He's long, he's rangy, he can play the run, he can play the pass, and I think the energy and excitement around Todd Orlando and that whole defense is only going to make him better. There's a lot of expectations on him, and rightfully so. He is what he is, and is a heck of a player. And now it's going to be pad on pad, time to get it. And I think he will show up. I think over the course of a season, he will get stronger and stronger with more confidence and more reps. It'd be really interesting to see how they start off with San Jose State and how many reps he gets that first game.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Corey Foreman, the number 1 recruit in the entire nation out of Centennial, Corona, California, and, commits with the Trojans. He's there now. You originally started your college career at Colorado State as a freshman and then transferred over to USC. How hard is it when you have those expectations, and him being huge expectations as the number 1 guy in the nation, to come in and make an impact? Because, maybe the team wants him to ease in slowly. You kind of allude to it. It'll be fun to see what his reps are, but maybe they want to ease him slowly. And then you start having fans like, well, where's Corey Foreman? Where's he going to be? How hard is it to temper those expectations as a young man like that when you were playing and able to go out there and just, being yourself and get better every day, chopping wood?
Yeah, and we come in with different resumes. Obviously, he comes in as the number 1 player in the country. I came in as a guy looking to just get some playing time and help my team win. I'm sure the same end goal is in process, and, I wanted to play in the NFL, and I'm sure he does too. Corey finishing his last season as dominant as he did, and then going through this whole COVID and getting into school the right way, I'm sure that stuff was challenging. This was all unheard of things and feelings that these guys had to go through this past year. But this is all they've ever known either, right? So we can't act like, Corey's been in college for a couple of years and that was different, this whole transition for him. I think he will be a great asset to us. I think his growth will come with reps. It's really going to come down with Coach Orlando, how he feels Corey's picking up the playbook. If his errors that they're going to have as being a true freshman are going to be costly ones and end up getting scored on or big plays. Trojan fans, including myself, we've sat in stands before. We've watched on the television, and no one likes to see the big plays. And sometimes it's the guys that just not sure what they're doing that ends up giving the big plays. I think they bring him up to speed the right way. I think playing versus a team like San Jose State, not saying they're bad or anything like that, they shouldn't be on that level. It should be a blowout. And those valuable reps of him getting confidence versus another team and another opponent. I know iron sharpens iron, and he's been going against very good talent in practice. And once he gets get a couple live reps in a real game, I think the cream always rises to the top, and I think he's ready for it.
Yeah. Can't wait to see him out there. As you alluded to, kickoff is a week away next weekend as the Trojans welcome San Jose State to the Coliseum. My man Frost, I'll get you out on this. Last question. And, the season hasn't started yet, so I'm going to put you on the spot, though. But how do you think the Trojans finish in the Pac-12? Do you think they finish as Pac-12 champs? Are they going to come up a little bit short? What's your thoughts overall on how this season ends?
All the teams in the Pac-12, I think SC is the ones who got the strongest in the offseason, and I think they have the depth to do it. Injuries obviously play a part, but if we look at the COVID-7 season last year and the way they battled and fought and stuff on short notice and last-second notice, they played, and I think this trickled down. I think they built the attitude surrounding the program that they're going to start up front, and getting Corey in the school starts up the number one player, and the offensive lineman that we've had and the recruitment that we've had. We've built up for this moment. And I think this moment is finally here. If they run the ball the right way, all our receivers will be open. Slovis will be playing pitch and catch. The game will be slower. There'll be a dominant run game, and defense will be able to defend it. And I think we go undefeated, and I think we get in the playoffs and see what happens. I'm not calling a victory or a national championship just yet, but I'm saying it's time the Pac-12 got recognized in the tournament, and the guys have to play. And I think we finally got the group. We got the coaching staff that each and every person knows their importance on this team. And I think it's ready to go. And I'm going to add, since you say I'm on my way out, you got to watch out for that Dart kid. If something happens, I think that's the guy that's going to really make it go.
So we'll be talking about him on the Trojan Huddle throughout the season. Jackson Dart, who has just been lighting it up in fall camp and in the spring game. This is a kid in high school that threw like 65 touchdowns. So the dude can ball, highly touted 4-star recruit. So I know that the Trojans missed out on, the past Bryce Young and DJ Ugawala out of St. John Bosco, but this is a good recruit that will take over most likely for Slovis. But like you said, if there's any fallback or any injury, I think they'll be in good hands even with him as a true freshman.
Yeah, I think he adds a way another dimension to the Trojan backfield at quarterback.
Absolutely. So, well, man, I cannot wait to watch this year. I can't wait to crack a beer with you and watch some Trojan football.
We'll be at practice doing interviews here pretty soon, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll be there bringing some real great content for the Trojans right to the people. So I'm excited to get back involved with you. It's been a long off season. I've missed my Frostee Rucker, so I'm glad to be doing this with you again. Thanks, man.
In practice, they're letting us go to practice now, guys. So let's rip the Band-Aid off and get in there.
That's right. So Frostee Rucker, you can find him at the Organic Frost on the socials. Give him a follow. If you see him, say hi. He's the best guy out there. So thanks, bro. I appreciate you.
You got it, brother.
All right, everybody. Great show. Love being on this. Love being on the airwaves. Love being on the radio. The old style of radio might be dying, but the way we're doing things here is not. Changing the game, having local shows, talking about your teams that you want to hear about. This is the LA Football Show. I am Ryan Dyrud, your host. Thank you all for hanging out with me on a Friday afternoon. Hope the commute wasn't too bad. Hope the traffic's not too bad out there. But if it is, thank you for tuning in and hanging out with me for an hour of your day. We'll do this the same time next week, Friday at 5. But we do shows all week long, not just on the radio. So if you want to hear more great interviews, like I said, head to the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com. All of our shows are up there. We're on Apple, Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, everywhere you get your podcast, and on YouTube at LAFB Network. You can follow me on Twitter at Ryan Dyrud LAFB. Give me a shout. Give me a follow. Hit me up. Let's talk football. Love connecting. I want to tailgate with you guys. We're going to do a bunch of tailgates this season, so I'd love to link up and actually meet in person. My biggest thing with running this company is interaction. We're not going to be that media company that, posts and ghosts. We don't do that. We want to interact with our readers, with our listeners, with our followers, and talk football with you. So hit me up. Would love to talk to you there at LAFB Network or all of the main social accounts. So give that a follow as well. But enjoy your weekend. Go Bruins as they play tomorrow. And then we'll have a full slate of games for you coming next week as Trojans Bruins play. And Rams and Chargers will have finished preseason. So we'll get into all the stuff heading into the regular season. Appreciate you all. Enjoy the weekend. Peace.